Hi, my name is Rebecca, and I am the author of the Hoff Math blog. That's www.hoffmath.com, and also the owner of the Hoff Math YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a math quiz in Google Forms. These are the two questions I'm going to demonstrate with. Once you get the steps, then you can go off on your own and make your own math quizzes. So I wanted to choose questions that had math symbols in them. So I have a cube, power of 3 here, and I have cube root symbols in these questions. And then in this question, I have some graphs. Now, for these graphs, I used a program called Autograph. I've been using Autograph for a long time. It used to cost hundreds of dollars, and a couple of years ago, they made it free. And it's really awesome. And I'm going to do a demonstration of how to use Autograph in a different video, but you can find lots of stuff online. Anyway, that's how I made these graphs. So you'll notice I'm working in PowerPoint, and I like to work in PowerPoint because I find it easier to do like screenshots and to drag things and whatnot. Um, it's just a little bit more, I have a little bit more control when I work in PowerPoint compared to, say, working in Microsoft Word, but you can certainly work in Microsoft Word as well. All right, so these equations I made in Equation Editor. So let me show you that real quick. So I'm just going to open up a new slide. I'm going to open up a new text box. Here's my text box. And a shortcut to get in the Equation Editor to open really quickly is Alt equals. And then I can just type, y equals x to the third power plus 4, or whatever. Get rid of that stuff in the front. You'll notice I kind of did it really quickly. Let me do it again. So if let me make my font bigger so you can really see it. If I do Alt equals, that'll open up my equation editor, and then y equals x, and then I do the caret key, which is above the 6, 3, and then when I press a space bar, it goes ahead and changes it up to a superscript there. And then I can also do, for example, the backslash that's above the enter key. I'm on a PC, and then SQRT space, and it will turn into a square root symbol, x space, and then it changes that x underneath that square root there. So a little bit of tips and tricks. So again, that keystroke in order to open up the equation editor was Alt equals. And in a in a PC, Alt equals will open up an equation editor in both PowerPoint and Word. If you're on a Mac, if you're on a Mac and you're on PowerPoint, it's Option key plus the equal sign. If you're in Word, it's Control plus the equal sign. But that shortcut works in both. And I'm in Office 365, by the way. Okay, so I've designed my questions, or I have an image of my questions, and I'm going to put them in Google Forms. So I'm going to go into Google, and I'm going to create a new Google form there. And I'm just going to put how to. So when you're making a Google form for your students, you're going to want to make sure that you go over here to this cog and choose quiz and make this a quiz. And you can assign point values to the question and allow auto grading. You can decide when you're going to show them the answers and whatnot. And you're going to want to make sure that you ask for their email address. This can also be under a setting here under collect email addresses. So actually that'll be up there next to the title. So I don't really need to type a separate question. But I also like to have a place where they have to answer their last name separate from their first name. And I can't tell you how many times it annoys me that my students will mix that up, and for last name they'll just put their first and their last name, and then it screws up my spreadsheet and how I sort them. So that's annoying. And then you're going to want to make these questions required for both of those. And you may even want to add another question for which period are you in. Now I might be going a little too fast, so let me back up a bit. You'll again, if you click on this cog, this is where I went to quizzes and where I went to make a quiz, and under general is where you can choose to collect email addresses. And then to add a new question, you'll notice I have this menu bar that sort of floats as I scroll through the page. That first plus sign with a circle around it, that's how you add a question. So if I'm going to ask which period are you in, and then you can make this a multiple choice if you want, especially if you're going to make this for your Algebra 2 class and you only have period 3 and period 5 for Algebra 2. You can also make it a drop-down menu. So, third, fifth, sixth, or whatever. Whoops, sixth, enter. Okay, whoops, I don't want that one, so I'll click on that little X right there. You'll notice also, let's make that one required. So when I'm in the editing of the question, I just click on the toggle over on the make it required, not required. And you also have a choice for an answer key. Obviously, there's no right or wrong answer for what period they're in, so I'm just going to ignore that for now. And it also says it's worth 0 points, which is exactly what you want. Same for the first name and for the last name there. Okay, now let's go here, and after asking them what period they're in, I'm going to have the first question. So I can go ahead and type question one if I want. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here, and what I actually need to do is a screenshot of the questions and also a screenshot of each of the 4 answers. And this can be kind of tedious, so bear with me. The shortcut on my PC for doing a screenshot is the Windows key Shift and S. So Windows Shift S, and then I can click and drag which area of my screen I want to do the screenshot. And then I click off of it and I just do a Control V to paste. Control V to paste. So now I'm going to right click on this image and I'm going to click Save as Picture. And by default, my computer is going to open up the My Picture folder, which is where I want to put it. It's fine. And it says Picture 1, and that's fine as well. I usually do these in order. So Picture 1 corresponds to Question 1 and so on. I click on Save. And while I'm here at the screenshotting, let me go ahead and screenshot these as well. Let me put some space here to make it a little bit easier. So Windows Shift S, and there's a separate shortcut, keyboard shortcut for doing a screenshot in a Mac. You can Google it. Just Google, screenshot shortcut to figure out what those keystrokes are. I know what they are, but it's hard for me to remember if I'm not on the Mac. Plus, my fingers remember it, but my brain doesn't really. All right, so there's choice C. Whoops. B. And then D. Whoops, and that is the answer. I made it red because that's the answer, but let me make it black because we don't want to give it away. And paste. We'll just remember that that's the answer. All right, so we can do another save as picture, and this is choice A, so I'm just going to call it A. Right click, save as picture. Choice B, save. Right click, choice C, save. Right click, save as picture, and this is D, save. Okay. Okay, so I have my screenshots of the question and the 4 answer choices. So let's go ahead and add that into our Google form. So I'm going to go over to my Google form. Here's question 1 that we set up before. Next to the space where you can type the question, you have this icon of an image. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to ask me to insert image. And there's a few different options for getting your image, but I want to upload and browse. Now, what you can do here is just click on browse and then go find the folder where you've saved your picture. Or what sometimes I'll do is I'll minimize this window. I kind of scoot it over like this, and then I'll get my this I'm saving in my pictures folder, and I'll minimize that and sort of scooch everything over so I can see them both on the screen, like something like that. And then I can just sort of drag picture 1 over like that. And I find that to be a little quicker. All right, and then for option 1, this is kind of cool. If I just type capital A, since I do have it set up as a multiple choice question, it's going to suggest to add capital B, capital C, capital D. And I say, yeah, so add all. And then for choice A, there's another image icon. So I can click on add image and then just grab that A image, drag it over. For B, click on that, drag it over. For C, click on that, drag it over. And finally for D, drag it over. All right, so there's the question with the 4 answer choices. We do need to go in here to answer key. Oh, let's make it required while we're here. Maximize that. Click on answer key, and then it's going to ask you how many points you want it to be worth. I usually say 1, and then you choose which one is the answer, and it turns green. And then you choose done, and voila, we have our first question. Now let's see how it looks. So I'm going to go here to preview so you can see how it looks. So here's the title of my quiz. It's called How To. They're asking for my email address. A little red asterisk means that it's a required question. Email address, last name, first name, which period are you in? You can see that was my drop-down menu that I set up before. Whoops, it says that's a required question. And then question 1, also red asterisk, meaning it's required. Here's the question, and then I can choose D and submit. Now I'm going to get an error here because I had all these required questions I didn't answer, but we'll come back to that in a second. Let's do one more. So I'm going to go underneath question 1. So make sure the question 1 is selected. Otherwise, if you're here, like in which period are you in, and you press this add question, it's going to put it before question 1. So I'm going to go to the very bottom question I'm on, click that add question button. This is going to be question 2. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. Let's get rid of these. I don't need these anymore. Delete, 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 delete. Now this one, now I did use the equation editor to make the F and the G and the H look really, pretty and cursive and whatever. You don't have to do that. But since this is just text, I don't actually need to do a screenshot of that. There's no fancy math symbols or anything. So I'm just going to do a copy. So it's a Control C. And then I'm going to go back into my Google form and I'm going to Control V. And it looks pretty good right there. So I don't need to do an image for the question that time. I only have 3 choices here. They're all already separate images, so I'm just going to go ahead and I don't need to do a screenshot since I did the screenshots from the Autograph software before, which again, I highly recommend. So I'm going to right click, save as picture. I'm going to call this one A again, and I'm going to replace the previous one I had saved as A because I'm done with that. Just override them all the time. Save as picture. This is the second one. We're going to call that one B. This red box, by the way, was just an empty box that was red to help me remember what the answer is, but I have a master's degree. I know what the answer is. Save as picture, choice C, replace, yes. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my Google form and I'm going to type A and add all. Now it did give me the D, which I don't need in this case. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to go forward to A. I'm going to go to add image. Let me do my little minimizing thing again. Drag the A over to upload that picture. Go down to B, click on image, B, drag it over, and then finally C, drag it over. I'll make it a required question, answer key, sometimes it takes a second, make it worth 1 point. That's my answer, done. Okay, so that's it. Let's see how it looks. I'm going to go here to preview. For email address, we can just put student@student.com, whatever. Last name is Last. First name is Joe. Joe Last, what a name. Which period are you in? Third period. Which is the inverse? I'm going to answer wrong here. I'm going to say B. And then these graphs, which function is 1 to 1. I'm going to say B again. And I'm going to click Submit. And then your response has been recorded. View score. I'll talk about that again in a second. And another window pops up and it tells me 1 out of 2. I can scroll down here. Number 1 is marked wrong. And they tell me the correct answer was D. Number 2 was marked correct. Now, the reason that I was able to see my score is because of the quiz settings. So that was back here. If you click on the cog, that's your settings button. Under quizzes, I had release grades immediately after submission. So you can switch it over to later after manual review if that's what you want. You can also turn off that they can see their mixed questions or correct answers, point values, whatever is going to work for you and your students. All right, so that's it. That is, again, how to make a math quiz in Google Forms. I hope you enjoyed it.